The oversized sweater hung like a shapeless tent over Savannah's frame, the mustard yellow clashing spectacularly with her rich mahogany skin. She'd paired it with baggy cargo pants that had seen better days and her oldest sneakers, the ones with the frayed laces. Her natural 4C hair, usually styled with care, was pulled back into the messiest bun she could manage. No makeup, not even chapstick. Perfect. Kennedy had been relentless about this blind date for weeks, and Savannah had finally agreed just to shut her up. But that didn't mean she had to actually try. The last thing she needed was another man in her life, another disappointment, another complication. Between her two jobs, 8-year-old Autumn, and the constant struggle to keep their heads above water, romance ranked somewhere below learn to juggle on her priority list. She checked her reflection one final time, satisfied with the disaster staring back. No man would look twice at this. She'd suffer through one awkward dinner, prove to Kennedy that blind dates were pointless, and get back to her real life. What Savannah didn't know was that across the city, in a private room of the most exclusive restaurant in Chicago, Kang Dae-hyun was already waiting, and when she walked through that door, everything, absolutely everything, was about to change. Savannah pushed through the heavy glass doors of Zenith, immediately regretting every life choice that had led to this moment. The restaurant was absurdly fancy, all marble floors, crystal chandeliers, and waiters in suits that probably cost more than her monthly rent. She felt like a stain on an otherwise perfect canvas. "Reservation for Brandon," she mumbled to the hostess, who looked her up and down with barely concealed disdain. "Right, this way." The walk through the restaurant felt like a death march. Elegant diners turned to stare, their expressions ranging from confusion to outright judgment. Savannah kept her chin up, channeling every ounce of dignity her mother had taught her. She might look like she'd dressed in the dark during an earthquake, but she was still a black woman with pride in her bones. The hostess stopped at a doorway leading to a private dining room. "Your party is inside." Savannah stepped through, expecting to see Brandon and whoever this mystery man was. Instead, she found herself in an intimate space with a single table and a single man. He stood as she entered, and Savannah's breath caught despite herself. He was devastatingly handsome, mid-30s with sharp features that seemed carved from stone, dark eyes that could cut glass, and black hair styled with effortless perfection. His suit was clearly custom-made, fitted to emphasize broad shoulders and a lean, powerful build. When he moved, there was a predatory grace to it, like a panther deciding whether to pounce or merely observe. But it was his presence that truly arrested her. He commanded the room without saying a word, radiating an authority that made the hair on her arms stand up. This wasn't just confidence. This was power. "You must be Savannah," he said, his accent adding an exotic edge to his deep voice. "I'm Dae-hyun, please sit." She remained frozen in the doorway. "Where's Brandon?" "Your friend thought it best if we met alone." His eyes traveled over her outfit, and something flickered in their depths, not disgust or mockery, but something else entirely. "He mentioned you might be reluctant." "Reluctant is putting it mildly." Savannah crossed her arms. "Look, no offense, but I only agreed to this to get Kennedy off my back. I'm not interested in dating, especially not—" She gestured vaguely at the opulent room, at him, at everything this represented. "This. Not interested in what, exactly?" "Rich guys who think money can buy anything. Pretty boys who've never had to work for anything in their lives. Relationships that complicate my life when I'm barely holding it together as it is." She met his gaze directly. "Should I continue?" Instead of being offended, Dae-hyun smiled, a slow, dangerous curve of his lips that made something flutter in Savannah's stomach. "You're honest. I appreciate that." He pulled out a chair. "Since you're already here, why not stay for dinner? Consider it compensation for your time." "I don't need your money." "No," he agreed, still studying her with that unsettling intensity. "I don't think you do. But the food here is excellent, and you look like you haven't eaten a proper meal in days." Savannah's stomach chose that moment to growl audibly. She'd skipped lunch to pick up extra hours at the diner, and breakfast had been whatever Autumn hadn't finished. "One dinner," she said finally, moving to the chair. "Then I'm gone." Dae-hyun's smile widened. "One dinner." As she sat, Savannah noticed the way he moved, the careful control, the awareness of his surroundings. His hands, when he gestured, showed faint scars across the knuckles. These weren't the soft hands of someone who'd never known hardship. A waiter appeared with menus, but Dae-hyun waved him away. "We'll have the chef's tasting menu, and bring the 2015 Burgundy." I don't drink on, Savannah started. It's not for getting drunk, it's for tasting. There's a difference. His dark eyes caught hers. Trust me. I don't trust easily. Good. Neither do I. The first course arrived. Something artistic involving scallops and microgreens that Savannah couldn't pronounce. She picked up her fork, acutely aware of his gaze on her. You can stare at me all you want, she said, not looking up. I'm still not going to magically transform into whatever fantasy you're expecting. I'm not expecting anything. His voice was quiet, thoughtful. I'm just trying to figure you out. There's nothing to figure out. I'm a single mom working 2 jobs to keep my daughter fed and housed. I don't have time for games or romance or whatever this is supposed to be. Your daughter. What's her name? Savannah hesitated. She didn't like talking about Autumn with strangers. Too many men saw a kid as baggage, a complication. Autumn, she's 8. Beautiful name. There was no judgment in his tone, no subtle withdrawal. And her father. Gone. Left before she was born. Savannah set down her fork, meeting his eyes with steel in her own. Look, I know how this works. Guy finds out about the kid, suddenly remembers he has somewhere else to be. So let's just skip the part where you pretend it doesn't matter and— My father left when I was 6, Dae-hyun interrupted quietly. Walked out one night and never came back. My mother raised me alone in a country that didn't always welcome us. She worked 3 jobs to keep us afloat. He paused. So no, I won't be running. Not because of a child. Savannah found herself speechless. She searched his face for signs of manipulation, for the usual pretty lies men told, but found only stark honesty. Why this restaurant? She asked, changing the subject. Why all this? Would you have preferred somewhere else? I would have preferred a pizza place where I didn't feel like a homeless person who wandered in by mistake. Dae-hyun actually laughed, a rich, genuine sound that transformed his severe features. Point taken. Next time? There won't be a next time. We'll see. The confidence in his voice should have annoyed her. Instead, it sent an unexpected thrill down her spine. Savannah buried the feeling immediately. She couldn't afford attraction, especially not to someone like him. Someone clearly wealthy, powerful, and probably dangerous in ways she couldn't begin to understand. As dinner progressed, she found herself relaxing despite her best efforts. Dae-hyun asked about her jobs, waitress at a diner, night custodian at an office building, about Autumn, smart, creative, obsessed with drawing, about her dreams, laughable given her circumstances. He listened with genuine interest, asking follow-up questions that showed he was actually paying attention. In turn, she learned he ran various business enterprises in Chicago, a vague description that set off warning bells. When pressed, he admitted to owning several restaurants, a few clubs, and other investments. The way he said it suggested the other investments were the real story. You're not just a businessman, Savannah said bluntly as dessert arrived. There's something else. Dae-hyun's expression shuttered slightly. Everyone has secrets, Savannah. That's not an answer. No. But it's all I can offer right now. Before she could respond, the door burst open. A man rushed in, lean, dangerous-looking, with a scar running down his left cheek. He spoke rapidly in Korean, his tone urgent. Dae-hyun's entire demeanor changed in an instant. The charming dinner companion vanished, replaced by someone cold and lethal. He stood, responding in Korean with sharp authority. Savannah understood none of the words, but she understood the energy. This was a man used to giving orders and being obeyed. This was a man who held life and death in his hands. I apologize, Dae-hyun said, switching back to English. Something requires my immediate attention. Sungmin will drive you home. I can get myself home. It's late. The neighborhood you live in— He caught himself. Please, let Sungmin take you. Savannah wanted to argue, but something in his expression stopped her. There was concern there, genuine and unexpected. Fine, she said, standing. But this was— Thank you for dinner, Dae-hyun interrupted, moving close enough that she could smell his cologne, something expensive and distinctly masculine. His hand caught her chin, tilting her face up. I meant what I said, Savannah. We will see each other again. Then he was gone, leaving her standing in the private room with her heart racing and her carefully constructed walls crumbling around her feet. 3 days passed. Savannah tried to forget the dinner, tried to dismiss Dae-hyun as just another rich man looking for entertainment, but his face kept appearing in her mind at odd moments, when she was pouring coffee at the diner, when she was mopping floors at midnight, when she lay awake worrying about next month's rent. You're thinking about him again, Kennedy said, sliding into the break room at the diner. Her friend wore a knowing smirk that made Savannah want to throw her dish rag. I'm thinking about how I'm going to murder you for setting that up. Please. Brandon said Dae-hyun hasn't stopped asking about you. When's he taking you out again? Never. It was one dinner, and it's over. Kennedy rolled her eyes. Girl, you are the most stubborn person I've ever met. A fine man with money is interested, and you're acting like he's got the plague. I don't have time for this, Ken. Autumn needs new shoes. The landlord raised the rent again, and my car is making a noise that probably means I'll be taking the bus soon. Romance is a luxury I can't afford. Maybe that's exactly why you need it. Kennedy's expression softened. You work yourself to death, Savannah. When's the last time someone took care of you? Before Savannah could answer, the diner's bell chimed. Both women looked up, and Savannah's stomach dropped. Dae-hyun walked in like he owned the place, dressed in another immaculate suit that made every other patron look underdressed. Sungmin followed 2 steps behind, his scarred face scanning the room with professional paranoia. Oh my God, Kennedy whispered. Is that him? Savannah was already moving, intercepting Dae-hyun before he could approach the counter. What are you doing here? Having lunch. His eyes swept over her uniform. A simple yellow dress with Millie's Diner embroidered on the pocket. You look beautiful. I look like a waitress, because I am one. She crossed her arms. How did you even know where I work? You mentioned it at dinner. I mentioned the name, not the location. His slight smile confirmed her suspicion. He'd looked her up, probably had people dig into her life. The thought should have angered her. It did anger her, but underneath was something else. Something that felt disturbingly like being wanted. Table for 2, Dae-hyun said pleasantly. Somewhere private, if possible. We don't have private tables. This is a diner, not Zenith. Then any table will do. Savannah glanced around. Her manager was watching from the kitchen window, clearly wondering why she was arguing with a customer. She had no choice. Fine. Follow me. She led them to a booth in the back corner, slapping down menus with more force than necessary. What can I get you? Your phone number would be excellent. To drink, she said through gritted teeth. Coffee. Black. He handed back the menu without looking at it. And whatever you recommend for food. After taking Sung-min's order, the same, Savannah retreated to the kitchen. Kennedy pounced immediately. That's him? That gorgeous Korean man in the $1,000 suit? Probably more like 3,000, Savannah muttered. And you don't want to jump his bones, why exactly? Because I have a brain that works. She started preparing their order. He's clearly dangerous, Kennedy. Probably connected to organized crime. You see his bodyguard? That's not a normal business arrangement. So, maybe he just needs security. Or maybe he's exactly the kind of man I should run from. But when she brought out their food, Dae-hyun looked up at her with such genuine warmth that her resolve wavered. There was something magnetic about him, something that pulled at her despite every logical reason to stay away. Join us, he said, gesturing to the empty space beside him. I'm working. Your break starts in 3 minutes. I checked with your manager. Savannah's jaw dropped. You did what? I may have also mentioned that I'm considering investing in this establishment. He was very accommodating after that. You can't just... She stopped, seeing the determined set of his jaw. He absolutely could, and he would. 5 minutes, that's all you get. She slid into the booth across from them, hyper-aware of how out of place they looked in this shabby diner. Sungmin ate mechanically, his eyes constantly sweeping the room. Dae-hyun, meanwhile, focused entirely on her. I wanted to apologize for leaving so abruptly the other night, he said. Business emergency, I get it. Do you? His gaze intensified. I'm not sure you understand exactly what kind of business I'm in, Savannah. I have a pretty good idea, and that's exactly why this, she gestured between them, can't happen. Because you're afraid? Because I'm practical. I have a daughter to think about. I can't bring danger into her life. Dae-hyun leaned back, studying her. What if I told you that being close to me might actually make you both safer? I'd say that sounds like something a manipulative man would say to get what he wants. He smiled, not offended, but almost proud. You don't trust easily, do you? I trusted once. He left me pregnant and alone. So no, I don't trust easily anymore. Something dark flickered across Dae-hyun's face. His loss was catastrophic. For him, I mean. He paused, choosing his words carefully. Extraordinary. Savannah laughed bitterly. Right. A broke single mom working 2 jobs is extraordinary. You must not meet many women. I meet plenty of women. None of them interest me. He leaned forward. You, however, walked into that restaurant dressed like you were trying to repel suitors, looked me in the eye and told me exactly what you thought. You didn't see dollar signs or opportunity. You saw me as an inconvenience you had to endure. Do you know how rare that is? Maybe your usual type is just more impressed by money than I am. My usual type doesn't exist. I don't date, Savannah. I don't have time for relationships or the complications they bring. My life is—" He trailed off. "It's complicated and often dangerous. Getting close to someone means putting them at risk. Then why are you here?" "Because I can't seem to stay away." The raw honesty in his voice made her breath catch. "I've tried. For 3 days I've tried to forget about you, but you're in my head, under my skin. I need to understand why." Before Savannah could respond, the diner door crashed open. 3 men entered, not customers, something else. She recognized the look. Predators on the hunt. Sung-min was on his feet instantly, positioning himself between the men and Dae-hyun. The lead man, a tall white guy with prison tattoos crawling up his neck, spotted their booth and smiled. "Kang Dae-hyun," he said loudly, approaching despite Sung-min's warning stance. "Victor sends his regards, says to tell you that neutral ground won't stay neutral much longer." Dae-hyun's expression remained perfectly calm, but Savannah felt the temperature in the room drop. "This is a civilian establishment, Kozlov's dog. Take your message and leave." "Or what? You gonna start something here? In front of all these nice people?" The man's eyes slid to Savannah. "In front of your pretty waitress?" Sung-min moved fast, precise. One moment the man was standing, the next he was pinned against the wall with an arm twisted behind his back. "You were leaving," Sung-min said quietly. The other 2 men reached for weapons, and Savannah's heart nearly stopped. This was going to turn into a shootout right here in Millie's diner, where families ate breakfast and elderly couples shared coffee. "Enough," Dae-hyun's voice cut through the tension like a blade. He stood buttoning his suit jacket with deliberate calm. "Tell Victor I received his message. Tell him the response will be comprehensive." The threat in those words was unmistakable. Sung-min released his captive, who stumbled away with his companions, throwing hostile glares over their shoulders. The moment they were gone, Dae-hyun turned to Savannah. "Are you all right? Am I all right? Those men just threatened you in my workplace. What the hell was that?" "That was a complication I was trying to avoid." He pulled out his wallet, dropping several $100 bills on the table, far more than their meal cost. "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have come here. I put you at risk." "Dae-hyun, Sung-min will watch the diner tonight. Make sure there's no retaliation." He was already moving toward the door, his protective walls slamming back into place. "Stay safe, Savannah." Then he was gone again, leaving her with a pile of money, a racing heart, and the terrible realization that she was already in too deep. Savannah didn't see Dae-hyun for a week, but she felt his presence everywhere. A black SUV appeared outside the diner during her shifts, Sung-min inside, watching. When she walked Autumn to school, a different car followed at a discreet distance. Her landlord suddenly dropped the rent increase, mumbling something about reconsidering the market value. The noise in her car vanished after a mechanic's note appeared on her windshield. "All fixed. No charge." Kennedy noticed immediately. "Girl, you've got a whole Korean Mafia boss wrapped around your finger and you're complaining about it." "I'm not complaining. I'm concerned. This is how it starts. The small gestures, the protection, the money. Then suddenly you're in too deep to leave. Or maybe he just likes you and wants to help. Men like him don't help without expecting something in return." But late at night, lying awake while Autumn slept peacefully down the hall, Savannah had to admit the truth. She was thinking about him constantly. The way he looked at her like she was precious. The calm authority in his voice. The darkness that clung to him like cologne, warning her away even as it drew her closer. The moment everything changed came on Thursday. Savannah was walking home from her night shift, exhausted down to her bones. The buses had stopped running, and her car was still at the diner. It was just 6 blocks through a neighborhood that was usually safe enough. She heard the footsteps behind her halfway home. "Don't panic," she told herself. "Just walk faster. Get to Paige's building, she'll let you in." But the footsteps matched her pace, getting closer. Savannah's hand closed around her keys, the biggest one protruding between her fingers like a weapon. Her mother had taught her that. "Hey, beautiful. Walking alone?" 3 men emerged from a side alley, spreading out to block her path. The one who'd spoken was massive, with a shaved head and eyes that promised violence. "Just heading home," Savannah said, keeping her voice steady. "Not looking for trouble." "Who said anything about trouble? We just want to talk." He stepped closer. "About your friend? The Korean guy with the fancy suits. Her blood ran cold. This wasn't random. They'd targeted her specifically. I don't know what you're talking about. Sure you don't. Victor's real interested in Kang's new weakness. Wonders how much the big boss would pay to get his pretty little waitress back in one piece. Before she could react, hands grabbed her from behind. Savannah fought, clawing, biting, screaming, but they were too strong. A cloth covered her mouth and nose, reeking of chemicals, and the world started to blur. The last thing she saw before darkness took her was headlights cutting through the night and the screech of tires. She woke to voices speaking Korean. Her head pounded, her wrists ached, and for a terrifying moment she couldn't remember where she was. Easy. The voice was familiar, speaking English now. Don't try to sit up too fast. Dae-hyun. Savannah's eyes flew open. She was lying on a leather couch in what appeared to be an office. Expensive furniture, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Chicago skyline, artwork that probably cost more than her yearly salary. Dae-hyun knelt beside the couch, his face pale with an emotion she'd never seen from him. Fear. Autumn, Savannah gasped, trying to sit up. My daughter. Is she safe? Sung-min is with her and your neighbor Paige right now. She doesn't know anything happened. Relief flooded through her, so intense it made her dizzy. How did you find me? I've had people watching you since that day at the diner. He helped her sit up slowly, his hands gentle despite their obvious strength. When they reported you were walking home alone, I came personally. We arrived just as Victor's men were taking you. You saved me. I endangered you first. His jaw was tight with fury, not at her, but at himself. This is exactly what I was trying to prevent. Victor targeted you to get to me. Who is Victor? Rival organization, Russian mob. We've been in a territory dispute for months. Dae-hyun stood, pacing like a caged predator. He knows hurting you would hurt me. I should have stayed away. I should have... Stop. Savannah found her voice, along with her strength. I'm not some fragile thing that needs protection from my own choices. You didn't force me into anything. And you saved my life tonight. I put it at risk in the first place. No, 3 thugs did that and you stopped them. She stood, swaying slightly. Dae-hyun was there immediately, steadying her. What happened to them? His expression went dark. You don't want to know. Are they dead? Savannah. Are they dead? No, but they wish they were. He met her eyes. I'm not a good man. The things I do, the world I live in, it's violent and cruel. You deserve someone better. Maybe I don't want better. Maybe I want real. The words hung between them, charged with possibility. Dae-hyun's hand came up to cup her face, his thumb brushing across her cheekbone. You should go home. Sung-min will drive you. I'll make sure Victor understands that touching you again means war. I don't want to go home. Savannah wasn't sure where the boldness came from. Maybe the adrenaline, maybe the near-death experience. Maybe just the way he was looking at her, like she was the most important thing in his world. I want to understand. I want to know who you really are. Savannah, tell me. No more secrets, no more deflection. Tell me the truth. Dae-hyun was silent for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was raw. I'm the head of the Korean organization in Chicago. We run protection, gambling, some less than legal imports. My father built this empire before he disappeared, and I've spent my life protecting it, expanding it. I've done things that would horrify you, hurt people, made decisions that cost lives. Why are you telling me this? Because you deserve honesty. Because if you're going to walk away, and you should walk away, it should be with full knowledge of who I am. Savannah absorbed this, processing the confirmation of everything she'd suspected. And if I don't walk away? His eyes widened slightly. Then you're either incredibly brave or incredibly foolish. Maybe both. She stepped closer. You saved me tonight. You've been protecting me without asking for anything in return. You treat my daughter like she matters, not like she's baggage. You see me, not the struggle, not the poverty, just me. That's worth something. It's worth your life? His voice cracked slightly. Because that's what you're risking, Savannah. Victor won't stop. There will be others. Being close to me means being a target. Being alive means being a target. At least this way, I get to choose. She reached up, her hand covering his where it still cupped her face. I'm not saying I trust you completely. I'm not saying this is smart. But I'm saying I want to try. You're insane. Probably. Dae-hyun stared at her for one more heartbeat, then pulled her close. His arms wrapped around her with desperate intensity, like he was trying to shield her from the entire world. I won't let anything happen to you. he murmured against her hair. Or Autumn. I swear it. I know. And terrifyingly, impossibly, she did know. This man who dealt in violence and darkness, who lived in a world of shadows and blood, he would protect them. She could feel it in every tense line of his body, hear it in the fervent promise of his words. When she finally pulled back, his eyes were blazing with something intense and possessive. Stay tonight, he said. Just sleep. In a guest room. I need to know you're safe. Savannah nodded. She should probably argue, maintain boundaries, be practical. Instead, she let him lead her to a bedroom that was bigger than her entire apartment, accepted the clothes he provided, and fell asleep feeling safer than she had in years. Outside, Dae-hyun made a phone call. Victor needed to understand. Savannah was untouchable now, and anyone who tried to hurt her would learn exactly how brutal a man protecting what he loved could become. The retaliation came swift and merciless. Victor's operation lost 3 shipments in 2 days. His casino was raided by police who'd suddenly received anonymous tips. 2 of his lieutenants simply disappeared, and the message was clear. Dae-hyun was done playing nice. Savannah learned about it from the news, watching reports of gang violence escalating, while Autumn drew pictures at the kitchen table. She'd been staying at Dae-hyun's penthouse for 3 days now, ostensibly for safety, but really because neither of them could bear to be apart. It was insane. It was reckless. It was the most alive she'd felt in years. "Mama, can I show Mr. Dae-hyun my drawing?" Autumn asked, holding up a picture of their family, her, Savannah, and a tall man with dark hair who was clearly meant to be Dae-hyun. Savannah's heart clenched. Her daughter had taken to him immediately, drawn to his quiet strength and the gentle way he spoke to her. He'd spent an hour last night teaching Autumn to write her name in Korean, his usual cold demeanor completely melting in the face of her 8-year-old enthusiasm. "He's working, baby, maybe later." "Actually, I'm done." Dae-hyun appeared in the doorway, still wearing his suit, but with his tie loosened and sleeves rolled up. "Can I see?" Autumn rushed over, presenting her artwork proudly. Dae-hyun studied it with the same serious attention he gave business matters. "This is excellent," he said finally. "The proportions are very good. Have you considered art classes?" "They cost money," Autumn said matter-of-factly, with the brutal honesty of children who've heard too many budget conversations. "Mama says maybe next year." "Well, I know an art teacher who might be willing to trade lessons for some of your mother's excellent cooking. Would you be interested?" Autumn's eyes went wide. "Really? Really? I'll arrange it." After Autumn skipped away, Savannah fixed Dae-hyun with a look. "You can't just throw money at every problem." "I'm not. I genuinely know an art teacher. She owes me a favor." He moved closer, his hand finding the small of her back. "Let me do this, please." "Why? Why are you doing any of this?" "Because watching you struggle when I have the means to help is torture." His other hand came up to her face. "Because your daughter deserves chances you can't afford to give her. Because you both matter to me more than I ever thought possible." Savannah's breath caught. "Dae-hyun." His phone buzzed insistently. He glanced at it, and his expression darkened. "I have to go. Sung-min will stay with you." "What's wrong?" "Nothing you need to worry about." "Don't do that." She caught his arm. "Don't shut me out. If I'm in this, I'm in all of it." "What's happening?" Dae-hyun hesitated, clearly warring with himself. Finally he said, "Victor requested a meeting, neutral ground. He wants to negotiate." "That's good, right? It's a trap. It's always a trap." He gripped her shoulders. "But I have to go anyway. Show strength, show I'm not afraid of him. Take extra guards, be careful." "I'm always careful." He kissed her forehead, lingering like he was memorizing the moment. "I'll be back before dinner." But dinner came and went, and Dae-hyun didn't return. By midnight, Savannah was pacing the penthouse floor while Sung-min made increasingly tense phone calls in Korean. Autumn was asleep in the guest room, oblivious to the tension crackling through the air. "Something's wrong," Savannah said finally. "You know it and I know it." "Where is he?" Sung-min's scarred face was grim. "The meeting location. They're not responding to communications." "Then we need to go there." "Absolutely not. Dae-hyun would kill me if I brought you into a potential combat situation. Dae-hyun might be dead if we don't." She grabbed her jacket. "I'm going. You can either come with me or explain to him later why you let me go alone." Sung-min swore in Korean, then grabbed his keys. The warehouse district was dark and silent, broken only by the distant sound of sirens. Sung-min parked 2 blocks away, leaving several guards with the car and Autumn's sleeping form. "Stay behind me," he ordered. "If shooting starts, you run." They approached the meeting location carefully, an abandoned factory that stank of rust and neglect. The door was ajar, and Savannah's heart hammered as they slipped inside. The scene made her stomach turn. Bodies littered the floor. Victor's men mostly, but some wearing the black and silver that marked Dae-hyun's organization. Blood pooled on concrete. The smell of gunpowder hung heavy in the air, and in the center of it all, Dae-hyun stood facing Victor himself. Both men were injured, Dae-hyun with blood soaking his left shoulder, Victor with a vivid gash across his face. They circled each other like wounded predators, too evenly matched to risk attacking. "This ends tonight," Victor spat. "Your territory, your operation, your life, all of it ends. The only thing ending tonight is your pathetic attempt at a takeover." Dae-hyun's voice was steady despite his injury. "You're finished, Victor. Your organization is in shambles. Your allies are abandoning you. It's over." "Not until you're dead." Victor lunged and Dae-hyun moved to counter, but his injured shoulder slowed him. Victor's knife caught him across the ribs, and Dae-hyun stumbled. Savannah didn't think. She just moved. "Stop!" Her voice echoed through the warehouse. Both men froze. Victor's eyes found her, and his smile turned predatory. The waitress. Perfect. He moved toward her, knife still bloody. Sung-min raised his gun, but Victor was faster. Grabbing Savannah and yanking her against his chest, blade pressed to her throat. "Drop the gun or she dies," Victor ordered. Time seemed to slow. Savannah felt the cold steel against her skin, smelled blood and sweat and fear. But all she could see was Dae-hyun's face, the raw terror, the helpless rage, the absolute devastation at watching her in danger. "Let her go." Dae-hyun's voice shook for the first time since she'd known him. "Please, Victor, she's innocent. This is between us." "She stopped being innocent the moment she chose you." Victor's grip tightened. "Now you get to watch her die, just like I watched my brother die in your raid. Your brother was trying to kidnap children for trafficking. He deserved what he got. He was family." Victor's hand trembled with rage. "And now you'll understand what that loss feels like." The blade pressed harder. Savannah felt a hot line of pain, felt blood begin to trickle down her neck, and she saw Dae-hyun break. What happened next was almost too fast to follow. Dae-hyun moved with inhuman speed despite his injuries, closing the distance between them. Sung-min's gun fired and Victor screamed, his knife hand suddenly useless. Dae-hyun caught Savannah as she fell, his arms crushing her against his chest. Sung-min and the other guards who'd materialized swarmed Victor, pinning him to the ground. "You're okay," Dae-hyun murmured frantically, his hands checking her neck, her face everywhere. "You're okay. You're safe. I've got you." "You're the one bleeding everywhere," Savannah managed, her voice shaky. "I don't care. God, Savannah, you could have died. You could have—" His voice cracked completely. "Why did you come here?" "Because I couldn't lose you." He stared at her, something raw and vulnerable in his eyes. Then he kissed her, desperate and fierce, tasting of blood and fear and relief. When they finally broke apart, sirens were getting louder. Police would be here soon, drawn by the gunfire. "We need to go," Sung-min said urgently. Dae-hyun stood, pulling Savannah up with him. His arm never left her waist as they escaped into the night, leaving Victor and his failed ambitions behind. Later, after a private doctor had patched their wounds and Autumn had been retrieved still sleeping, Dae-hyun held Savannah on the penthouse balcony. "I can't do this," he said quietly. "I can't put you in danger like this. You're not putting me anywhere. I'm choosing to be here. You almost died tonight, but I didn't. We survived." She turned in his arms. "I love you." The words hung between them, enormous and terrifying. Dae-hyun's eyes closed. "I love you too," he whispered. "That's why this is so impossible." The next morning, Savannah woke to find Dae-hyun gone. A note sat on the nightstand, written in his precise handwriting. "Keeping you safe means keeping you away. I'm sorry. The penthouse is yours for as long as you need it. D." She crumpled the paper, fury and heartbreak warring in her chest. After everything, after last night, after their confessions, he was just going to disappear. "Like hell," she muttered. By noon, she'd tracked him down. Sung-min tried to stop her at the door of Dae-hyun's office building, but one look at her expression made him step aside. She found Dae-hyun in his office, staring out the window at the Chicago skyline. He didn't turn when she entered. "You shouldn't be here. And you shouldn't be a coward." Savannah crossed her arms. "What happened to the man who faced down Victor, who built an empire? That man doesn't run from feelings. That man is trying to protect you. He finally turned, and the pain in his eyes nearly broke her resolve. Victor was just one threat, Savannah. There are dozens more. Rival organizations, federal investigations, enemies I've made over years in this business. Being with me means living with constant danger. Being black in America means living with constant danger. Being a woman means living with constant danger. Being poor means living with constant danger. She moved closer. You don't get to decide what risks I'm willing to take. I'm deciding what risks I'm willing to subject you to. His jaw was tight. I love you too much to watch you get hurt again. Then stop pushing me away and start trusting me to make my own choices. It's not about trust. Yes, it is. You don't trust me to understand your world. You don't trust me to be strong enough to handle it. You see me as something fragile that needs protection. Because you are precious to me. The words burst out of him. You and Autumn, you're the only good things I have, the only light in this darkness. I can't. His voice cracked. I can't be the reason that light goes out. Savannah softened, seeing the genuine fear beneath his protective anger. Do you remember what you told me? About your mother raising you alone in a hostile world? That's different. It's not. She was strong enough to survive, to protect you, to build a life despite everything against her. I'm strong too, Daehyun. Strong enough to stand beside you, not behind you. And, Autumn, what about her safety? Her safety is important, but so is showing her that love is worth fighting for, that good men exist even in dark places. That family isn't just blood. It's choosing to be there for each other, no matter what. Daehyun shook his head, but she could see his resistance crumbling. I don't know how to do this, how to have something normal when my life is anything but. Normal is overrated anyway. She closed the final distance between them. I'm not asking for normal. I'm asking for real, for honest, for you to stop trying to protect me from yourself and start letting me in. It won't be easy. I've worked 3 jobs while raising a kid alone. Easy doesn't scare me. You'll have guards, always, no arguments. Fine. We'll need to move you somewhere more secure. Maybe here in the penthouse. We'll discuss it. And if things escalate, if another Victor appears, you and Autumn leave the city immediately. Sung-min will have a safe house ready. Daehyun, that's non-negotiable. His hands came up to frame her face. I need to know you have an exit strategy, please. Savannah saw the fear still lurking in his eyes, the terror of losing what he'd found. She nodded. Okay, we'll have a backup plan. Some of the tension bled from his shoulders. He pulled her close, his forehead resting against hers. I don't deserve you. Probably not. But you're stuck with me anyway. He kissed her then, soft and sweet and full of promise. When they broke apart, he said, There's something I need to show you. Come with me. He led her through the building to a private elevator that descended into what she assumed was a parking garage. Instead, the doors opened onto a modest apartment, nothing like the penthouse, but comfortable and lived in. This is where I actually live, Daehyun explained. The penthouse is for business, for appearances. This is, home. Savannah looked around, taking in the details that made it personal. Korean art on the walls, a small shrine with photos of what must be his mother, books in both English and Korean, a kitchen that showed signs of actual use. Why are you showing me this? Because I want you to know all of me, not just the powerful boss or the dangerous criminal, the real me, the one who makes bad coffee and watches cooking shows at 2 a.m. and keeps his mother's recipes in a box under the bed. He was offering her everything, his vulnerability, his truth, his carefully guarded heart. Savannah felt tears prick her eyes. I want you to meet my mother, he continued, and I want to take Autumn to Korean cultural events, teach her about that part of her heritage now too, if you'll let me be part of her life that way. He swallowed hard. I want to build something real with you, a family. She already thinks of you as family. Savannah smiled through her tears. She drew us together, remember? I remember. I have it framed in my office. Of course he did. This man who dealt in violence and darkness had framed a child's drawing because it included him in a family. There's one more thing. Daehyun reached into his pocket, pulling out a small box. Savannah's breath caught as he opened it, revealing a simple but beautiful ring, a single diamond surrounded by smaller stones in shades of black and white. I know it's fast, he said quickly. I know we've only known each other a few weeks, but in my world you learn to recognize what matters quickly, because you might not get another chance. You matter, Savannah. You and Autumn. You're everything. Are you proposing? I'm asking if you'd consider it. Eventually, when you're ready. He looked almost nervous, this powerful man who commanded an empire. "I want forever with you, however long that takes to build." Savannah took the ring box from him, studying the elegant design. The black and white stones reminded her of them, two different worlds coming together to create something beautiful. "Ask me properly," she said. "What?" "Get on one knee and ask me properly. I deserve at least that much romance." Dae-hyun's face transformed with a smile that made him look years younger. He sank to one knee in his private apartment, still wearing his expensive suit, but looking more real than she'd ever seen him. "Savannah, will you marry me? Will you let me protect you, honor you, stand beside you? Will you teach me how to be the man Autumn deserves as a father? Will you build a life with me, knowing it won't always be easy, but it will always be honest?" "Yes." The word came without hesitation. "Yes to all of it." He slid the ring onto her finger, then stood and kissed her with enough passion to make her dizzy. When they finally broke apart, both were breathless. "Autumn's going to freak out," Savannah laughed. "Good freaking out or bad?" "Definitely good. She's been asking when you're moving in." "Smart kid," Dae-hyun grinned. "How about we tell her together? Tonight, over dinner. Somewhere normal. No fancy restaurants, no bodyguards hovering. Just us." "Just us," Savannah agreed, loving the sound of those words. As they left the apartment hand in hand, Savannah reflected on how far she'd come from that blind date. She'd dressed ugly to repel interest, never imagining she'd find love. She'd walked into Zenith expecting boredom, never dreaming she'd find a partner. The future wouldn't be simple. There would be challenges, dangers, complications, but facing them together, that made all the difference. Dae-hyun had found light in his darkness, and Savannah had found someone who saw her strength, celebrated her resilience, and loved every complicated piece of her. Together, they'd build something neither could have created alone. A family forged not in perfection, but in choice, commitment, and the fierce determination to protect what they'd found. 6 months later, Savannah stood in the gallery, watching Autumn's art displayed alongside other students' work. Her daughter had flourished under proper instruction, her natural talent finally given room to grow. "She's incredible," Hyo-jung said beside her, Dae-hyun's mother speaking with warm pride. The older woman had been wary at first, protective of her son, uncertain about this American woman from such a different world, but Autumn had won her over immediately, and Savannah's strength had earned her respect. "She gets it from her grandmother," Savannah replied, squeezing Hyo-jung's hand. "You should see the embroidery she's teaching Autumn." Dae-hyun appeared with 3 cups of tea, his movements still careful around the fading scar on his shoulder. Victor was in federal prison now, his organization dismantled. The territory disputes had settled into an uneasy peace. Life wasn't perfect, but it was theirs. "Ready to go home?" he asked, his free hand finding Savannah's waist with familiar ease. "Which home?" She smiled. They split time between the secure apartment and a house in a quiet neighborhood. Somewhere Autumn could play outside without a security detail visible on every corner. "Whichever one feels right tonight." They collected Autumn, who chatted excitedly about her pieces and the comments she'd received. In the car, she sat between her mother and the man who'd become her father in every way that mattered, wearing a jade bracelet Hyo-jung had gifted her, a symbol of her acceptance into the family. Later, after Autumn was asleep and Hyo-jung had returned to her own apartment, Savannah and Dae-hyun stood on their balcony watching the city lights. "Do you regret it?" he asked quietly. "Any of this?" "Not even for a second." She leaned into his embrace. "Though I still can't believe the Korean Mafia boss fell for a woman dressed in mustard yellow cargo pants. I fell for your fire. The clothes were just packaging." He kissed her temple. "Besides, you wear my mother's traditional hanbok better than anyone I've ever seen. You're biased." "Completely." His arms tightened around her. "Thank you for taking a chance on me, for seeing past the danger to the man underneath. Thank you for being patient with my walls, for proving that not all men leave." They stood in comfortable silence, 2 people from different worlds who'd found their way to each other through chaos and choice. The engagement ring on Savannah's finger caught the light, black and white stones representing their union, strong and unbreakable. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Dae-hyun's world was never truly safe, never fully stable, but they'd face it together. A family built not on fairy tale promises, but on honest commitment, fierce protection, and love that had survived everything thrown at it. In the end, that blind date had changed everything. Savannah had dressed ugly expecting rejection, never imagining she'd find acceptance. She'd walked in planning to leave, never dreaming she'd want to stay. But life's greatest gifts often come from unexpected places, and sometimes the most powerful love stories begin with a woman in terrible clothes and a man who saw her beauty anyway.